Well, hi everyone.
Hello.
Oh,
Welcome back.
Hey, it's good to be
It's
back.
been
thank
a
you,
while. Yeah.
both of you.
Right.
Rabbi Singer, have you been baking lately?
Well, sort of. So I am kind of sometimes late to pandemic trends, apparently. So in the last few weeks, I've tried to make a sourdough starter. Here's my sourdough starter. You can see it's a complete mess. It does not have a name.
It
It
doesn't have a name, don't you? Isn't that part of it? The thing
no,
you have to have a punny name.
exactly. I've read some good ones on the internet, but it just insofar maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's why it's not working.
Yes, you have to give it a name.
Needs
I
to.
can see it working. It's double its size from where the rubber band was.
It's like a quarter of the size from where the rubber band was. But I appreciate that. Thank you both. So part of what the reason why I wanted to talk about the sourdough starter is it's just been this really interesting process of everybody says it's going to be hard, and then it turns out they're right. It is really hard, and you have to treat it sort of like a pet, and people on the internet say it's not like a pet, but it kind of is. You have to feed it every 12 hours and it keeps not doing what it's supposed to do, but I don't really know why. And the other day, I don't know, and it's just been this slow process that has been a lot about patience and humility, I think. And the other day I was, feeding my starter, and I suddenly remembered that there's a metaphor that's used around Passover that leavened bread is like represents the ego. And that the reason that we eat matzah for a week on Passover is because we're trying to help ourselves deflate our egos, and so we eat bread that doesn't have any ego in it. And I kind of remembered this, and it really suddenly clicked as like I suddenly had a deeper understanding of that metaphor, because so much ego has gone into the creation of trying to make my own bread, and I really do feel this more connected to this idea that there I understood why our ancestors might have felt a sense of egotism around getting bread to rise, because it is an accomplishment and it is something that I think makes you feel really good about yourself and you have to work for. And so,
Rabbi, you are working so hard for this.
yes.
But it seems like this one is bruising your ego right
I
now.
know it is, and that's okay. Humility is good too. Um, but all of a sudden, I just had this deeper understanding of a piece of Torah based on something that had happened in my life. And I was really happy that maybe I didn't get bread out of this experience, but I got Torah out of this experience. And so I was wondering, what are times when Torah has shown up in your life in surprising ways, in ways that it could be in the day to day? Is there something that, that helps you have a deeper understanding of a text that's kind of a mundane part of life?
Yeah, I'm thinking about this particular in this COVID time. But Rabbi Singer, I will say, while I was visiting family over break, my father-in-law also started having a starter, which was helped by a friend of yours, actually. And we, for so long, were trying to figure out the name of it. And he is um, a Grateful Dead fan, so I suggested Dark Starter. So he's got Dark
You
Starter.
didn't want to just go like with the simple grateful bread?
It would have been good, but like starter up. Yeah, there's so many. For so long we studied, but what I'm thinking about right now is this concept of put a fence around Torah. This idea that like don't even get close to breaking the mitzvah. If sundown is at this time, then our rabbis, our tradition teaches us that you make it Shabbat this much earlier, so you don't even get close to breaking the commandments. Between that and then another Talmudic commandment that says to not look as if you are doing something wrong. Like you don't eat turkey bacon out, because what if someone walked by and saw you eating turkey bacon? If you are a kosher keeping Jew, they'd be like, oh, it looks like he or she is eating bacon. So these two things, I think, have really impacted what it means to wear a mask for me. So being down in Florida over break, it's a very different COVID world down there. And one of the things is, like, people wear masks a lot less than they do in Chicago. I understand why my family is a little more hesitant, because people aren't wearing masks nearly as much. I haven't seen someone's nose in person in Chicago in months. But so, like, we went to the dog park and we're not standing near people, but Mayan and I, like, still wore our masks as both a thing against looking like you're doing the wrong thing. Like, I know we're doing the right thing. We are like 20 feet away from people outside, but it felt good to look like you're continuing to do that right thing. And also the keeping a fence around Torah, that, yeah, I'm 20 feet away, but might as well put up another fence. And so much of my time down there, comparing it to Chicago and being proud of Chicago, really made me think about how many fences we have put around ourselves here, and how good we are at making sure we really not only look like we're doing the right thing, but are working hard to continue to do that right thing. Yeah, I like that prompt a lot. Thanks, Rabbi.
What a neat answer too. I love the notion of, how we make a fence around the Torah, and then actually how we literally make a fence around ourselves in order to keep each other safe. And yet then, like, but making a fence around ourselves, but then being completely approachable and doing all these wonderful things like going to a dog park. And it's funny, Rabbi Singer, when you were sharing about how some people say that making a starter is like, like raising a pet. And I was thinking, like, well, that might be true, but, you have to feed it every 12 hours, but you don't have to take it out. It doesn't chew up your carpet, and it also doesn't poop on your carpet. So there are things that are a little different. And I also love that you're working on it. And I'm sure that hopefully by people watching this, there are going to be some fun suggestions for names for that starter. Because truly, I mean, this week when we open a new book in the Torah, Shmot, names, we've got to come up with some good names for a starter. I did have a starter gifted to us by a wonderful congregant, and the starter was called Bernadette Peters. So, I think sky's the limit as long as there's a pun in it. It seems like. And so you have me thinking about something that shows up, which is ein kamach ein Torah, which means if you don't have flour, you don't have Torah, which means that even a rabbi's got to eat. And if you're going to eat, you might as well have some nice sourdough starter. And I'll say that for me, a way that shows up really in my life on a day-to-day, meal-to-meal basis is that we say a bracha, we say a blessing before we eat. I say a blessing before I eat. And in that way, I'm reminded that eating is a sacred act. It's not something to take for granted. And especially as we've seen throughout this pandemic, as inequality to access to healthy food and access to healthcare and access to a whole lot of things that everybody should have. We see the inequality with it. I certainly don't take it for granted. And even while there are things to do to advocate for beyond, I think also not taking things for granted that we have is another way to be able to live more gracefully in this world, I guess, to be more grateful, and then also to do something beyond that, so that way we bring more equality. But I love that today we think about what Torah is real in our lives, and how then do we live by it, by making a fence around it, by looking at our 11 as our ego and trying to really make the starter rise, but while also having our ego stay small. And then also to say that, wow, the things that we do have in this world that are worth thanking God for and showing appreciation for, well, let's do that too. So I hope this will be a week in which we are grateful, in which we say that it's good to have an ego, but not to have too big of an ego, and to make fences around ourselves and the Torah in order to live in a healthy way, even amidst a pandemic. So thank you so much.
Amen. Thank you. Very open to all starter names.
I look forward to hearing what you get. Nice. Have a good week.